Welcome to the bright side of aging. My name is Ike Engelbaum. I'm a pharmacist and the publisher of the American Senior Gazette newspaper. And as it has been widely said, you cannot help getting older, but you can help getting old. And also a great saying is that age is a matter of the mind. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. My purpose for doing this program is so that seniors and caregivers can share their ideas and questions on how we can age gracefully and in a vertical position for as long as our good genes will allow. And if we've inherited bad genes, how to outwit them. Our topics range from senior housing, financial, legal, safety, travel, health issues, interesting senior events in the community, and most of all, how to put old on hold. And there is no doubt one of the biggest concerns we have as we age is we are worried that, as they say, that we will outlive our money. And flower it as you wish. Money is a vital part. Next to health, it's probably one of the most important aspects of your life. And I'm pleased to have on the show today Brian Kurtz, who is president of AIP Financial, and he also happens to be a very nice guy, and that's hard many times to be financially astute. You know, usually people are so engrossed in financial stuff that they don't really seem to come across in talking to you in shirt-sleeve English. Brian Kurtz has his own radio show, and he actually is so good that Brian Kurtz has been on the air now for how long, Brian?
I just celebrated my 11th anniversary.
Wow.
on CKWW AM 580.
Right, okay, well that's great. So you've been around the block, right?
I have been around the block. In October, it'll be 19 years. I've been a full-time financial advisor.
I see. Well, that's great. Well, I have had the pleasure of visiting you in your office, and it's very professional, and you really feel that it's a sort of a very knowledgeable type place. I feel a little bit when I visit your office that I just walked into a library. You got all these books.
We like to put dusty books around and make it seem as if we know what we're doing.
Right. Well, since you've been around for as long as you have, give us a little bit of an idea about your financial training and background.
Well, one of my favorite convention speakers used to say, you know, money's not everything, but it's right up there next to oxygen. And,
yeah.
I think that people get a different sense of money as they age. You know, when we're working and making a living and contributing, whether it be to 401ks or IRAs or whatever, we're in the accumulation phase, and we kind of don't think about it too much. Something disappears out of your paycheck, hopefully on a regular basis, and it accumulates, and then maybe when we get in our 40s or even early 50s, we start to think about, hey, what's this all going to total up to? I am trained as a licensed insurance agent in the state of Michigan, which means I can do fixed annuities and indexed annuities and life insurance and long-term care. I'm also a fee-only independent investment advisory representative through Brookstone Capital Management, which is our registered investment advisory. What does all that gobbledygook mean? It means I can do portfolio management on a fee-only basis. I'm not a commissioned stockbroker where I have to make sure that I make so many trades in a week in order to meet my quota or anything like that. We literally have access to the entire universe of investments and investment vehicles, so we can have a fiduciary responsibility, a legal obligation, if you will, to do what's right for the client.
Now, in your experience as far as some of the pitfalls that people make, is there, like, within, I'm not going to put you on the spot of the exact top 10 as David Letterman likes to do, but I mean, what seems to be some of the biggest mistakes that people make in their investments?
Well, you know what saddens me, Ike, is that just about 2-3 times a year at least you read about a Ponzi scheme that's been discovered, and some of them quite local here, unfortunately, and others in other states. a couple of mistakes that we can point out. If anyone asks you to write a check to them or to their company, that's a huge red flag. You know, every check that I would ever collect would be made payable to an insurance company. If we're doing an annuity, it'll be made payable to TD Ameritrade, our custodian, for the benefit of the client. Never to AIP Financial Services, never to Brian Kurtz. And I had someone write a check to me once, you know, a friend of mine, and say, here, invest this, do something with it, and I thanked him for his trust and returned the check to him immediately, because that's just not a good sign of how to do business. Right.
Now, if someone is shopping around for a financial planner, I know how to approach a doctor, because I've been involved in the healthcare field, and a lot of patients many times figure that they'll wing it when they visit the doctor and just rattling off some symptoms, and I always encourage them to have some questions to ask. What would you advise someone that before they see Brian Kurtz that they be prepared to answer or ask of you?
It's a really good question, because a lot of times people think along the lines of, what should I bring in about me, instead of what should I want to know about you. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions is, what licenses do you have? You know, mm-hmm. Can you do both investments and insurance products? Far too many people call themselves financial advisors or true advisors when they really only have one license and can only do one particular thing. That doesn't present, in my opinion anyway, a balanced approach, and so that's something you should be wary of. So what licenses do you have? And then, I hate to say this, but don't necessarily take their word for it. You can go on the state of Michigan's website, michigan.gov, and look under Series 65 licenses, insurance licenses, and find Brian Kurtz and see exactly what companies I'm registered with and how long I've had the licenses and so forth. So it's not a bad idea, particularly in this day and age of identity theft and investment fraud and so forth, to do a little checking on anybody that you might want to do business with.
And of course, I would imagine you could probably do a search on some of the companies themselves too, could you not?
Well, sure. Not to get into a laundry list of companies, but Brookstone Capital Management is the registered investment advisory firm that I'm with. You know, brookstonecm.com. American Equity Investment Life, we do a lot of annuities with them. They're a public company, ticker symbol AEL. Very easy to check out, because all of their records are for public consumption. So you make a good point. Not only check out the advisor, but maybe some of the recommendations that you've been given, you can check out those companies as well. The internet makes it so much easier.
Now, on your initial visit with a client, what length of time do you usually spend in finding out about their personality and their risk factors? Because I imagine that really gives you the path that you feel is best for that client.
Well, it not only gives me the path, it's kind of required. You know, I mentioned in passing the fiduciary responsibility that registered investment advisory reps have. It's a different standard than a traditional stockbroker, where they have the suitability standard. Fiduciary means we do have a legal standard. It's the gold standard, if you will, in financial planning. And we must take the time to get to know the clients. I set aside an hour. Sometimes it takes longer than that. We ask questions. There's a risk profile questionnaire. I let them ask questions of me, some of the things that you just said, hopefully. And if it doesn't come out, frankly, I volunteer it, you know, the ways that they can, you know, because if you don't be upfront about it, then these thoughts are going to occur to someone after they leave your office. You know, how do I check him out? Maybe I should have asked that. So I don't mind putting it out there right away and let them go to town after they leave.
You know, Mark Twain used to have a great remark. He said, "I'm not so concerned about how much of a return I get on my money. I just want to make sure that I get my money returned."
Exactly, yeah. Don't care about the return on my money, but the return of my money. Exactly.
So tell me, putting yourself in the senior's mind, safety is a big issue. What comments do you have about safe places?
Safety, Ike, is probably the biggest issue. And over and over and over again, I've been doing this, as I said, 19 years. I have hundreds of clients. Over and over again, my marching orders are, keep it safe, but make it grow. I don't care if I don't earn 30%, I just don't want to lose 4%. there's really kind of a three-legged stool, if you will, of absolute safe places to go. 4 if you count the cookie jar. But 3 institutions, banks, government, and insurance companies. With the banks, you have CDs and savings accounts and FDIC insurance up to $250,000. With the federal government, you have the full faith and credit of the government, and some people may debate whether that's any good anymore, but nobody I know has ever lost money in a savings bond. And then you have, with insurance companies, you have fixed annuities and indexed annuities, which are another flavor of fixed annuity. And those are protected as well by the state of Michigan's Guarantee Association up to $250,000. So you've got a few safe options, and then the question becomes which one pays the best rate.
Now, can you take a minute and discuss fixed annuities versus the other option?
Well, there's basically 4 types of annuities: immediate, fixed, indexed, and variable. Okay, an immediate annuity is buying a pension. You trade me $50,000 and I'll send you a check every month that you can't outlive. Most people, most of my clients, don't do that because they already have a pension and or Social Security, and they'll never get the lump sum back if they do. A fixed annuity is pure and simple a CD alternative. The bank is paying 1.2%, I think, on a 4-year CD or a 5-year CD. We've got fixed annuities that are very safe that'll pay 3% per year guaranteed for 6 years, 2.75% for 5 years. And that changes like anything else with the times. Back in 2001, I could give you a 5-year fixed annuity that paid 7% per year for 5 years. But then the cost of a mortgage was higher too, so it's all relative.
Wow, there's a lot more to talk about, and we only have a couple of minutes to talk about them. If anyone is interested, they can always get a hold of us at our toll-free number, 888-489-8980. And also I can put you in touch with you, and you do seminars as well, so they can see you live and in action. And now we'll take a brief break, and we'll be right back.
Prescription drug abuse is a national epidemic. The new in way to obtain drugs is through parents' or grandparents' medicine chests. Removing prescriptions from your cabinet is the best way to keep drugs out of the hands of our young people. We've got to work together to protect our teens, our seniors, and our environment. Clean out your medicine cabinet today. Please participate in Operation Medicine Cabinet and drop off your unwanted or expired prescriptions at one of our law enforcement drop-off sites in Oakland County. We can't ignore this situation anymore.
And welcome back. And Jim Schuster, who is an elder law attorney and actually former president of the Elder Law Association, is here with me. And you may wonder, with all the specialties here about property and casualty and body type of accident type cases, and I have to tell you there are a lot of commercials on various types of attorneys. Jim Schuster is part of an elite group of elder law attorneys, and there's only about a little better than a handful of that. Is that right, Jim?
That's right. In the state of Michigan, there's only 13 who are certified elder law attorneys.
13.
That's all.
Wow. And you were past president, as I recall?
Oh, well, past president of the State Bar section. I'm a member of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys. I'm not only a certified elder law attorney, but one of only 3 members of the Council of Advanced Practitioners in the state of Michigan.
Wow. And you are actually a tall enough guy that you could emulate the height of Abraham Lincoln, and your office is in a log cabin in Southfield. Wow.
That's right.
So you live, walk, and breathe the part.
Well, that's true. My practice fits that as well. Because we call it elder law, and some people say, well, what's the difference between that and what other attorneys do? I say, well, it's not traditional estate planning. They say, what's that? And I say, well, estate planning, sure. That's all about death and taxes. And they say, that's important, isn't it? And I say, sure. But what comes before then? And they say, well, life. And I say, yeah, what kind of problems might you have? And they go, well, if I get that Alzheimer's, or, if I fall and break a hip. And I say, yeah, that's right. You're not going to die, but you got to make it through.
Right.
And that's where elder law comes in.
And actually, a lot of people are not aware that there is even that kind of a specialty out there. And I must commend you. You do umpteen seminars, and they're all well attended, and I've had the privilege of attending them, and it's amazing how much information you can bring out in just those particular sessions. And I just wondered if you could take a minute and talk about the difference between estate planning, let's say, and planning for long-term care. And unfortunately, we are hearing so much more about Alzheimer's and all. So give us a little background on how estate planning ties in your practice.
Yeah, okay. Now let me just share a little bit of background. You say we talk about the programs we do. Just this past summer, I did a program in cooperation with the Alzheimer's Association. And part of that program, I offered all attendees a free, and if you know, talk to a lawyer doing anything free, you guys, but we did a free document review. And part of it was for my own, let's say, testing my own belief. What I found out, and the people took us up in the offer, like I say, we had over 200 people in that program. People took us up. What I found uniformly, without exception, no matter how thick the binder, no matter how much money they paid the lawyer for their estate plan, they weren't ready for long-term care. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, you think about it, long-term care just means I'm going to need some help, and not just for a couple weeks after surgery, but for a long term. Now, it doesn't have to be Alzheimer's. It could be a stroke. It might be just sheer old age. Somebody who's at 95 probably isn't, managing all their affairs. They'd like a little bit of help. So we're talking long-term care, which means years. And then when you think about it, you think, well, what do I got to do to have somebody help me out? Now you're on the right track.
I see. And then as far as the procedure itself, talking about planning for Alzheimer's, how much time do you usually have to devote to really going through the person's situation and how they can best prepare for that type of...
Well, you're asking, of course, a big question. But if I were to boil it down, and by the way, the document review, it didn't take us that long because I could just tune right into the documents and see right where the holes are. It's like you have a wall with holes in it big enough to, let in what you're trying to keep out problems. But when you talk about, let's say that maybe I'm looking ahead, I'm saying, okay, I want to be concerned, I want to be prepared for the chance that there might be long-term care in my or my spouse's future. What a general rule of thumb, what a person should do is you look at your human resources, your financial resources. Some people are rich in human resources. I mean, maybe their daughter lives a block over and the son's a mile away and they're visiting mom and dad, every week, every day, whatever. Some people are very low in human resources. They might have a son who's a doctor and a wife who's an executive. A daughter who's an executive in New York. Well, if the parents need help in those cases, you just know the kids aren't going to come home, drop their job, and take care of them. So if you don't have human resources, you got to have financial resources. Aside from that, or in addition to that, what you have to do is you have to have what I call authority given to the people you trust. So you might have a living trust with your trustee authority in a direction to provide for my independence and security and control as long as I can't manage my own affairs. But clearly you also need a power of attorney, and a good strong one. Now, most everybody out in your audience listening to this program and being informed as they are because they're listening to you, they probably already have done some of this basic work. And they probably think, well, I got this power of attorney thing, and I got this patient advocate thing, and I got this trust. What else do I need? Well, the problem is it's not what more they can need, what other documents. It's what they need is those documents are incomplete. And we've seen, like say, I'm telling you, I'm repeating it, but we've seen powers of attorney, where, matter of fact, give you a little story, a little one. Got a call from one, daughter's helping her mom. Her mom's in the nursing home. She has this little bitty IRA at a local bank. And her bill at the nursing home is actually bigger than that little IRA. So daughter goes to the bank, she says, here, I got this here power of attorney, see? And they say, go away, you got to go downtown, you got to go to probate court. And she says, wait a minute, I got power of attorney, what do you want me to go downtown for probate court for? Well, that power of attorney doesn't allow you to access this IRA. So she called me up and I reviewed it. I said, the bank's right. Of course, I called the bank's attorneys. We were able to work out a little deal where they agreed to cut a check right to the nursing home. But the point is, because of the failing, the weakness of that document, her mom was almost in what I call lifelong probate. Everybody tries to avoid probate after they die, but how about probate for 5 or 6 years of your life, where your children are filing accounts, they're filing inventories of your property, the whole thing's on public file, and you get to pay the attorneys for their helping telling you and your children what to do, and you also got to pay the fees, and after that's all done, you pass away, you get probate on death. There you have it. Just a simple failing of one little document can lead to just a cascade of problems. Okay.
Now, you're able to work, let's say, with other attorneys that may already have met with that particular client, or do they have to start from scratch?
No, we work with them. I mean, we're happy if the client stays with their family attorney or whatever they have. We just have them come in and we help show them where the weakness is. I'll give you an example, easy example. And you stop me if I talk too much.
No, that's fine. No,
okay.
You're fine.
Here's an example. Almost everybody has what's called in Michigan a designation of patient advocate. Now, designation patient advocate, people might know it as a living will. It's only effective when you're dying. Okay, so let's just say that I had hip surgery and I'm in a lot of pain, and my son calls the doctor and the doctor says, well, here, we'll get a prescription for Jim, give him some pain medication, and go to the store and pick it up. Can my son do it? Maybe. Suppose that I'm having some adverse effects. Son wants to call the pharmacist. Can he do it? No. I said, well, this patient advocate thing, what about that? And they'd say, well, is your dad dying? No. Then go away. We can't help you. You can't help him. Go away. When he's dying, come on back.
Good luck. I mean, while you go through that whole frustration of it all, and of course now the good news is we are living longer, and that's always great if you can have a quality of life. But unfortunately, when you encounter situations like this, it's a matter of meeting early enough so that you can have all of the documents put in place. Yeah. So once the person has them in place, do you require an update periodically, or once it's good for as long as you're around?
See, the thing is, we're talking about life events, not, let's say, every time Congress meets and passes a law, your taxes change. No, we're just talking about life events. So, in other words, you're good, okay, you're good unless things change. So if your daughter is going to be your agent, then she moves to California with her husband because of a new job, then you say, okay, we better get in there and revise this, okay? So it's more driven by your personal family life events, okay? Say my wife dies, I'd better update my documents because my number one, helper is now gone. So it's those kind of life events that you look at, okay? Clearly, anybody who gets any kind of diagnosis, such as Alzheimer's or has a stroke or something that would lead to long-term assistance, that's a call, that's a message on the wall. Get your situation reviewed. Okay?
Now, this may be too open-ended a question, but I'm just wondering, it's obviously a very awkward situation for most people to approach their aging parents and try to get documents signed because I don't know of a very upbeat way that you ask your parents, hey, we got to get this stuff together. Have you found any particular suggestions, strategies that make the whole process of for children to get these documents signed and all?
Well, what I'd say is the advantages, I mean, I can just give you the rational answer. One, if you don't do anything, the probate court will take over you and your affairs. Two, all of these documents we talk about, they're completely under your control, or let's say under my control, if it's for me. A power of attorney, a healthcare power of attorney, a trust. If I don't like what the kids are doing, I can change it anytime I want.
And you're right in Southfield, and they can call our toll-free number 888-489-8980 if they're interested. And unfortunately, Jim, we've plumb run out of time, and I only have enough time to leave with my favorite thought, which is that yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, today is a gift, and that's why we call it the present. Please enjoy your present by looking at life and the bright side of aging.